Alrighty, Muscadine Bloodline have released their debut studio album, and it is time to talk about it. Muscadine Bloodline is a new country music duo from Mobile, Alabama that have really been gaining some traction recently. They've released numerous EPs dating all the way back to 2017, and even more singles in between EPs dating back to 2016, all before this debut album, which was released September 25th, 2020. I first discovered Muscadine Bloodline only earlier this year via an absolutely gorgeous track, The Highway, which was just a simple iPhone recording from lead singer Charlie Muncaster as a part of their quarantine work tape projects. I'm honestly glad this specific track was never produced, because I think the lack of production and general quality is what really allows the emotion to be put on full display. But now to the task at hand, the brand new full-length LP, Burn It at Both Ends. I went into this album with an idea sonically, but not really any clue where they would go content-wise. They've shown some lyrical versatility in their earlier works, but I was intrigued to see how everything would pan out in the context of a full-length album. Sonically, this is what I expected and more. Muscadine have consistently had a very electric guitar and drum-driven sound, all grounded by phenomenal leads from Charlie, backed up and expertly harmonized by partner Gary Stanton. I think Charlie's voice is comparable to Shay Mooney from Dan and Shay, though he may not have the gargantuan range of Shay that not really anyone does. Charlie still conveys that same power with a similar tone and still admirable range and some great style. I think one thing that was very well done on this album is the delivery on each track. In general, these songs are just well engineered. The delivery, style, lyrical content, and subject matter all just work together as this trifecta. Great examples of this can be found on tracks like Ain't Just the Van, where Charlie has almost this punk rock vocal style that really portrays this mood of fatigue and short-temperedness that floats really well above the simple guitar shots that are almost playing as percussion for the first verse. The track then evolves as it introduces BJ Barham, who I think has the best feature on the whole project. If Charlie introduced the mood in the first half, BJ just brought it to a whole nother level with his delivery. I think both of them played very well off each other, and it created one of the highlights of the record. Instrumentally, I think this project incorporated more diversity than I was expecting, and that's a very good thing. My only issue with some of the older Muscadine Bloodline output was that it was extremely guitar heavy to the point where some songs began sounding like repeats from previous works. That, however, is not the case here. There are some nice acoustic riffs that are played quite high on the fretboard, which results in this almost mandolin sound, which is very pleasant. It feels very organic when mixed in with the heavier electrics, and it really lets the tracks take a breather before stepping back into the swing. It really grounds and prevents some tracks from feeling like a sensory overload. I think organic is a great term to especially describe the sound of Here Goes Nothing featuring Jordan Fletcher. We again get that high-pitched acoustic intro paired with some very light, airy percussion that I think adds a lot, topped off with some gorgeous, easy-listening harmonica in between vocal sections. I think this track has a very intricate flow in the chorus that really helps give the track some personality. My only real issue with this track is that there is a feature. It's not that Jordan did bad, he sounded good. It just doesn't seem like a track lyrically that would warrant a feature. Maybe it'll grow on me in the future, but for now, I think this track could have been a simple solo ballad. Another little thing, I think Drunk Tattoo, though very heavy in its production, is really well done. Lyrically, this album feels fresh. Fresh is a word I would use to describe this album as a whole, but specifically lyrically. I don't think there's too many new ideas being presented here, just the way they're being presented is much more appealing. Take a track like Wrong Side of Goodbye. Despite the drums, which I think are too loud and ultimately carry an awkward sounding rhythm that I find doesn't match the rest of the instrumental, Wrong Side of Goodbye is a great example of this fresh idea. Though I wish there was more of an underlying story to the track, it's really justified by these big vocals that are really well done. Another example of a fresh idea can be found on the fun, late-night anthem After Midnight. I think it's a great, fun, naughty song. Again, the verses have these very interesting flows that just make it pop out. Unlike how I felt about Wrong Side of Goodbye, I think the drums on this track really add a lot, almost a sense of urgency, which is well fitting considering the song is about not letting time go to waste. Lastly, Good Chunk of Change is a phenomenal closer. I love how they chose a humorous, funny track about money being saved in multiple different scenarios to finish the album off. The big funky harmonies in the chorus just gives off such a great friendly feel, similar to the vibe of Red Solo Cup, though not quite on the level of the absolute masterpiece that is Red Solo Cup. Either way, it's funny, it sounds great, and it leaves a great taste in your mouth to send you off. Overall, I think my only criticisms I have of this album would be firstly the drums on Wrong Side of Goodbye. I think it really kills what could have been the best track on the whole project. The drums just sound too loud, rushed, and kind of sloppy on top of the instrumental. It also really sticks out like a sore thumb because it's thrown in with all these impeccably produced tracks, so it just ends up sounding amateur and half-hearted. I also think the first half of the album could have gone without the deep end. It sounds decent, but nothing unique, and lyrically it's just kind of vanilla, and I think it holds the front half down a bit. But at 11 tracks and 38 minutes, it's not like the deep end made the album drag or feel long. I just personally think it could have gone without it. So that was my take on the debut album from Muscadine Bloodline. Rating-wise, I'm feeling pretty good about this one. I think I'll give it an 8. Another very high score, but a very deserving 8. Especially in the context of a debut album, lots of artists' debut albums are experimental and all over the place, leading to a disconnected feel, but that is far from the case here. Obviously, releasing about 3 albums worth of music beforehand helps, but Burn It at Both Ends is really well put together. It feels very connected, like they went in with a plan for this project and executed it. Let me know what you thought of this album. I can definitely say I'm intrigued to see where this duo goes next, but they've set the bar quite high for themselves. Other than that, I think I've said all I needed to say, and yeah, have a great day.